Sean Diddy Combs is locked up in a federal jail that has been plagued by harsh conditions and violence. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has seen multiple deaths in recent years. An inmate was stabbed to death in July, and several others have died by suicide. It's these reasons, among others, that Combs' lawyers are fighting to get him out of there. They want him released on bail, rather than being kept in jail while he awaits trial on charges.
Afforded 3 hots and a cot, as they say, 3 meals, 3 showers per week, very austere conditions, and anytime there's movement in the special housing unit, it's controlled. Inmates are restrained, leg irons, handcuffs, belly chain.
Diddy, once living in a $48 million mansion with every luxury imaginable, is now facing the harsh reality of life in a Brooklyn prison. Gone are the private jets, lavish parties, and endless comforts. Instead, he's been placed on suicide watch, with guards monitoring him 24/7. The change is staggering, especially given where he's being held, the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, notorious for its poor conditions. For someone accustomed to luxury, the MDC is a nightmare. Diddy's lawyers have called the conditions horrific and not suitable for pre-trial detention. He's gone from a life of leisure to a strict routine, starting with a 6 a.m. wake-up call, the same as every other inmate. Breakfast is no longer gourmet. Instead, it's a simple meal of cereal, fruit, and a small breakfast cake, a far cry from the fine dining he's used to. Inside the prison, Diddy isn't a superstar anymore. He's now known as inmate number 37,452-54, his celebrity status stripped away. The reality of being treated like any other prisoner is setting in, and Diddy's transition from a life of fame and fortune to the cold, plain surroundings of a prison cell is a shock to his system. His day-to-day life now revolves around strict schedules. The adjustment to this new reality is just beginning, and it's clear that life behind bars is a far cry from the opulence Diddy once knew.
Very different than what Diddy is used to with these mega mansions that he owns, these 40, 50 plus $1 million properties. All of these facilities fall under similar guidelines. Each of the rooms, the cells, I should say, are a 10 by 8 foot cell. And inside of that cell, you have a bed, which is constructed of steel. You have a 1.5 inch mattress. The mattress contains, we'll call it a bump. They call it a pillow, but it's supposed to act as a pillow. There are no pillows there. You have a desk, which is attached to the wall, a plastic chair. You have a locker, a stainless steel toilet, and a sink. The interesting thing is if you take just the area that is unobstructed by any of these things that I just described, you basically have a 3 by 5 foot area that you can walk around. That's your living quarters, approximately 15 square feet in total.
Diddy, once one of the most powerful figures in the music industry, is now facing a reality where his fame, money, and influence hold no weight. Behind the walls of the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, he is treated like any other inmate. No special privileges, no exceptions. For someone who spent decades being recognized around the world, this shift must be one of the hardest aspects to accept. Adding to the difficulty, Diddy has been placed on suicide watch, meaning guards monitor him 24/7. Every move he makes is watched, leaving him with no privacy or moments to himself. The conditions at MDC Brooklyn are notoriously harsh. According to a former warden, the prison is cold and austere, meaning it's as basic and uncomfortable as it gets. Diddy, who is used to a life of luxury, now faces a starkly different environment where nothing is fancy and every moment of his day is scheduled. No longer can he make spontaneous decisions or indulge in comforts. His life is now ruled by strict schedules and prison rules, leaving him with no semblance of the freedom he once enjoyed. Ironically, Diddy's fame, which has brought him so much in life, could actually make his situation worse in prison. Being a high-profile figure in the world of prisons puts a target on his back. For many inmates, taking down someone as famous as Diddy would be seen as a badge of honor. This reality means he has to constantly watch his back, unsure of who he can trust. Every interaction, whether with other inmates or even guards, could be a potential threat. For someone who's used to being surrounded by security and people looking out for him, this new reality is a frightening one. Diddy isn't the first celebrity to face such challenges at MDC. R. Kelly, who also stayed at the same facility while awaiting his trial, reportedly faced similar struggles. Kelly's lawyer described his experience there as one of the worst she had ever heard. Beyond the harsh living conditions, guards allegedly took advantage of Kelly's fame, at times even forcing him to sing for their amusement. This kind of treatment shows how even in prison, a celebrity's status can be exploited, not only by other inmates but by the guards themselves.
There have been 2 forced and numerous lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here.
Diddy may be locked up, but he's not giving up without a fight. His legal team is working tirelessly to prove his innocence, despite the odds being stacked against him. 2 judges have already denied his bail requests, meaning he'll remain behind bars until his trial. His lawyers have called the prison conditions horrific and unfit for pre-trial detention, but that hasn't swayed the judges so far. Still, Diddy's team isn't backing down. They remain confident in his innocence, insisting he's strong, healthy, and focused on his defense. However, staying strong in a place like MDC Brooklyn is no easy task. He's now subject to strict rules, including making his bed by 7:30 a.m. and showing up for 5 daily head counts. No special treatment is given. He's just another inmate who must follow the rules. For someone who's used to controlling every aspect of his life,
the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being. They have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Life inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, is a stark contrast to Diddy's former world of luxury. There's no internet, no smartphones, and no contact with the outside world. Diddy is completely cut off from everything he once knew. His time outside is limited to a small, enclosed area with little privacy. For someone who once traveled on private jets and had the world at his fingertips, this reality is jarring. Adding to the challenge is the constant threat to his safety. MDC is not a safe environment, especially for a high-profile inmate like Diddy. His fame and the serious allegations against him make him an attractive target for other inmates seeking respect in the prison hierarchy. Even the former warden of MDC Brooklyn noted that Diddy's celebrity status puts him at risk for assault. On top of that, there's also the potential danger from some prison staff who may exploit his fame. While Diddy is doing his best to stay strong, the conditions are testing him in ways he's never experienced. However, there are attempts to improve the situation. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has brought in an urgent action team to address issues at MDC. They plan to increase staff, including correctional officers and medical personnel, and tackle over 700 maintenance issues. Despite these efforts, it's unclear if these changes will make a difference for Diddy. Even if staffing improves or some problems are fixed, the reality remains the same. MDC is still a prison. The tough conditions, lack of freedom, and constant safety concerns will persist, no matter how many improvements are made.
What is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that? As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion on $50 million bail, wanting a GPS monitoring system, limited visits from family members, friends, so on and so forth. That is what they're proposing because of course, the violence I talked about in that piece inside these jail walls.
What's next for Diddy? That's the million-dollar question. Can he withstand these harsh conditions long enough to prove his innocence in court, or will the mounting pressure start to break him down? It's not just a matter of staying physically strong, but also maintaining mental toughness. While Diddy is trying to keep his head up and focus on his legal battle, as the days turn into weeks and weeks into months, the true test of his strength and resilience begins. This ordeal could end up being one of the most challenging experiences of his life. After all, he's not just facing the physical discomfort of being in a prison like the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, but the constant psychological strain of being in an unfamiliar, harsh environment where every move is monitored and every interaction could be a potential threat. Diddy's journey from luxury to lockup is undoubtedly testing him in ways he's never encountered before, and as a high-profile inmate, he faces unique dangers. His celebrity status, which once opened doors for him, now makes him a target, whether from other inmates looking to gain respect or even from prison staff who may see his fame as an opportunity to exploit. So the big question is, can he stay focused on his defense and prove his innocence, or will the immense pressure get to him before his trial even begins? There's been a lot of talk about whether Diddy deserves better treatment. His lawyers have called out the conditions at MDC, labeling them as horrific and arguing that they're unfit for someone awaiting trial. Yet, the courts haven't been moved by these arguments, and Diddy remains behind bars without bail, facing the same conditions as any other inmate. This raises a broader question. Is it fair for someone of Diddy's status to be treated just like everyone else in prison, or should there be some kind of middle ground? After all, he's a public figure who is undeniably more vulnerable than most due to his fame, but at the same time, he's been accused of serious crimes. Is it right to demand special treatment because of his wealth and notoriety, or is this simply the reality of facing the justice system? For Diddy, this experience is a far cry from the life of luxury he once knew, and the transition from multi-million-dollar mansions and private jets to a cold prison cell is undoubtedly one of the most difficult things he's ever endured. However, prison is meant to be uncomfortable. It's not designed to cater to individual preferences, no matter how famous the person might be. That being said, the issue of prison conditions goes beyond just Diddy's case. The conditions at MDC have long been criticized for being harsh, and Diddy's team has argued that no one, celebrity or not, should be subjected to these kinds of living arrangements while awaiting trial. Whether or not things will improve for him remains uncertain. The Bureau of Prisons has promised changes, such as increased staff and tackling maintenance issues, but it's unclear if these efforts will make much of a difference in Diddy's daily life. In the end, Diddy's resilience will be tested on all fronts, physically, mentally, and emotionally. The coming weeks and months will reveal whether he has the fortitude to make it through this ordeal and ultimately prove his innocence in court. What do you think? Should Diddy receive better treatment while awaiting trial, or is this simply the reality of being behind bars, regardless of one's celebrity status? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay updated on this story and other celebrity news, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications.